Okay. So before we see this topic, accessing elements of the list or a tuple, let us see one small concept of how to accept a user-defined list. That means, uh, how do you ask user to insert elements of the list? ठीक है, in case if you have to ask a list of numbers from the user, तो उस केस में what you can do? Okay. क्या यार जी क्या बोल रहे हो? I'm not saying command line. I'm saying कि inside the program itself. Okay. So accepting elements of a list from the user. That is creating user-defined list. Okay. Right. So what you can do in the user defined list, कैसे करेंगे? First we will create an empty list. See, there are two ways. There can be two ways of accepting user defined list. ठीक है? I'll discuss two ways. Okay. First, first what you can do, you can initially start with an empty list. Ask the user how many elements the user wants in the list. Let's say user wants n elements. So you say n int input, please specify number of elements in the list. Specify number of elements in the list. Okay. Then one by one you can append in the list. For I in range 1 to, अच्छा 1 नहीं, चलो 1 से 0 लेते. If you start with 0, last value will be n. If you start with 1, last value will be n plus 1, क्योंकि 1 पहले तक जाता है range. Okay. Then, अच्छा, can you do this one? First time I will be 0, a0 is equals to, let's say, ठीक है प्रशांत, योर कंसेप्ट इज गुड, बट मैं पूछ रहा हूँ लेट्स से लिस्ट ऑफ इंटीजर्स में इंटर करवा रहा हूँ यूजर से. इफ आई एम आस्किंग यूजर टू insert list of integers, will this technique work?
No, sir.
Why?
Because the list is empty and it does not have any index positions.
Very good. So हमने देखा था assignment operator. Here what will happen? First time I will be 0. In A0 you will try to insert one value, integer value, from the user. After accepting from the user, you will try to insert at the 0th index that element or that integer. But still the list is empty and there is not no index position, not even 0. ठीक है? So this assignment will not work. Remember, assignment only works when you have already have elements created, index position created. Okay, so this will not work. इसीलिए what we are going to do instead is we'll write, if the list is a dot append, and then you can ask if you want integer values, you will write int input. If you want only strings, you will write only input. If you want float values, if you can write float input. ठीक है, ज्यादा दे दिया क्या ब्रैकेट्स? यस, राइट. And now if you have to display the list, once all the values have been accepted one by one, finally outside the block of for you can print the elements, print the entire list. ये देखो, take 10 seconds and let me know if it is clear, everyone. Okay, Priyanka and others, good, very good. Ajay is there? Ajay, 1 minute. Hello, hello, yeah, yeah, good afternoon. Mm-hmm. May I get back to you by 2 o'clock? Actually, I'm in the middle of a session, so this is not a good time. I'll get back to you around 2 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, you can call me back at that time. Sorry. ठीक है. So, right. So if this is clear, we'll see the second approach. Second approach may using assignment operator. Okay. So how will you create using assignment operator? Using assignment operator, you'll do the same thing. You'll start with an empty list. You will ask for the number of elements that user wants to insert in the list. Now, user has specified that user wants n elements. Therefore, you should have how many indices existing? 0 to n minus 1, right? और वो कैसे बनेगा? We will first create uh, those elements with random values. कैसे? और you need not create this even. पहले वो भी बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Even this is not required. Okay. It can be like, okay. Then you can write we will use replication multiplied by n. Okay. So what will happen? This will create what list? एक ऐसा list बना देगा A को. Let's say user wants to have 5 elements in the list. And if the value of n is 5, then this will create a list 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Supposing that user has specified n as 5. तब ये क्या हो जाएगा? Using replication, 5 times 0 will be repeated and a single new list will be created which will be again assigned to A. तो ये इस तरह का बन जाएगा. Now you can see that element positions have index positions have been created, though the elements are some values that we don't matter as of now. अब हम लोग क्या करेंगे? Once the index positions have been created with undesired values, of course, what we can do is we'll run a for loop. 0 to n जाएंगे, तो that will actually go from 0 to n minus 1, and then we can use I. Why this will work now? Why this will work now? Why assignment operator will work now? Anyone? Palak is there. अरे बताओ, अभी तो रीजन बताया. Anant,
Sir,
why this will work now?
so because the list has elements now.
Now, list has index positions created. Elements, though we don't, matlab that is undesired initially. Okay.
But elements created means index positions created.
There is already an index position. Yes, Priyanka is correct. Because the index positions for the five values that we want to accept have been created, though the values initially are not as per what we wanted. What we are going to do in the inside the for loop, we are simply modifying the values which are zero as of now at each of the indices with a value from the user. Okay, so after modification, after the for loop, whatever will be the state of A, that will be your desired list, and the elements will be as per what the user wanted. Okay, so analyze both the approach once. I'll give you 20 seconds. Uske baad let me know if it is clear or not. Just uske baad फिर we'll see some examples. Yes, Shashank, Prashant, and Akhila and others. बताइए. Shall I move ahead? Okay. Take great. Now, one more thing. ये भी नोट कर लो. By convention means as a good practice, we should not do processing or any other work in the loop in which we are accepting values. From the user in the list. This means what this means? That, for example, if I give you a question, write a program to accept five numbers from the user in the list, in a list, and display the sum of all the numbers. Okay. Now see, there can be two approach for that. First of all, we have to create. पहले question को समझो. Question says that you in a list you have to accept five numbers from the user. We have just seen the general approach for accepting n numbers from the user. But now the question specifies 5. That means the value of n has already been given as a fixed value, that is 5. So you need not ask for the number of values. Instead, wherever you are having n in the loop, you will put 5 because the question itself says 5. Okay, so I'll be going with the first approach. मान लेते हैं. though you can use the second approach as well. Okay, so solution will be A is equals to, let's say I'll create an empty list, and we already know it's 5. Now in this A, I'll append 5 times, one by one, and put new values. Range 0 to 5. So this will actually go from 0 to 4, 5 elements. Okay, and every time we'll do A dot append. Okay, so solution 1 I will rather say. Okay, A dot append. Right, and you have to find the sum also of all the numbers. तो sum के लिए एक variable हमें चाहिए होगा. Let's say s is equals to 0, which will store one by one, add sum to the previous sums, sum of all the previous numbers, and finally the last value of s will be the sum. ठीक है? Let's say this is your solution 1. Okay, what you can do is the moment, अच्छा यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा गलत है. I have not asked for the value here. Let's say 5. यहाँ पे numbers बोल रहा है, तो let's not make it integers only, let's make it float. It can be numbers with decimal points as well. Okay, now you tell me, उसके बाद the moment I get one number, what I will do is s is equals to s plus ai. ठीक है, पहला वैल्यू i का 0 है. फर्स्ट टाइम I will get a value 0 because this list range will generate a list from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. First time I will get the first value from this list, that will I will become 1. In that one you will in A0, first of all index append will create in the empty list 0th index. In the 0th index you will get asked for one value from the user and will put. Once you have got A0's value here in the above statement, that A0 value will be added to S, which is 0 initially. Okay, sort of accumulator variable. Okay, and then that value will become the new S. Next time I will become 1. You will append will create 0 index has already been created before by append. So this time it will create index number 1. At that index number 1, it will insert a new value which the user inputs, integer or the float value. And then whatever was the last value of s, that is the first sum was there, then to that number the second number will be added, and that together sum will become the new value of s. इस तरह करके 5 values will be given one time and then s will be changing. And after all the rounds, after all the 4 numbers has been accepted, you are getting, if you print the value of s, you will get the sum of all the 5 numbers. ठीक है? Second solution I will show. I'll do the similar thing. I'll write s is equals to 0. I'll create an empty list. अभी भी वॉइस ब्रेक कर रहा है मेरा. Anyone can tell me? सौरभ का तो नहीं कर रहा है. अच्छा, that अजय फिर से देखो वहां पे तुम्हारा नेटवर्क में भी some problem is there. Okay. Okay, good. अच्छा अभिषेक भी आया है. Excellent. अजय एक बार चेक कर लो, फिर से रिकनेक्ट करो maybe. Okay, so s is equals to 0. I'll create an empty list and will identify it by a. ठीक है? Now here what I will do is I will do the similar thing, but in this loop I am only going to accept values from the user. खाली इसमें append करेंगे. I'll only append. Okay. And then outside the loop, once I have got one by one all the values in A, okay, now list A is containing the required numbers entered by the user, okay, as different elements. I'll again run a loop. And this time I am simply going to, because I, देखो यहाँ पे now I am simply going to use this. ये जो one here I was accepting the value as well as doing the processing in the same loop. Here, first loop is accepting the values in the list. Second loop is doing the required processing that is specified in the program. Okay, but more or less they are both are doing the same thing but in a slightly different way or approach. Okay, so here I'll write accepting values and processing of list values in list plus processing of list done in the same loop. Here, accepting and processing done in different loops. Okay, both will give you the answer, but as convention, okay, as convention, okay, this approach is preferred. ये बताइए, ये समझ में आया? What I meant by the note that I have given and that I have explained, and the thing that I have explained using two different solutions for the same question. Is it clear? Is it making sense? Yeah, do I need to repeat? Let me know. Okay. Okay. What about others? Okay. Good. So always remember that अगर किसी loop में, if in any loop in the question, if you are accepting input, it's always a good programming practice to accept only the values in that loop. Though you can do processing, but you should not. It's not a good programming practice. ठीक है? उसके बाद जो करना है, after that loop, you generate one another loop, a similar loop, and you do the processing, whatever you want to do. But avoid doing the processing in the same loop in which you are accepting the user input in the list. Okay? Okay. Fine. कितना time हो रहा है? 34. What class you have after this? इसके बाद कौन सा क्लास है? Physics. And from 2 o'clock? 2:15?
Max.
Maths है. अच्छा. चलो ठीक है. I'll not start today. Let me just, because we missed some precious time there. ठीक है. We'll cover it up. 1 minute.